Stocks see small but broad-based gains, with gainers far outstripping losers. Industrials and realty lead gains, while consumer durables and utilities drag. Mid-caps give up morning gains. The stock of Clean Science and Technology sees near 80% of its market cap traded in value due to a fat finger error by its banker. The stock rebounds after the company clarifies this to CNBC TV18. This steals the attention from the already eye-popping 24% equity sale by the promoters. The newsmaker today, Aurobindo Pharma, tells CNBC TV18 that Zentiva does make a fit acquisition, but talks are at an early stage, and while it is well capitalized, it is always mindful of valuations, synergies and inorganic moves being EPS accretive. That's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Vahan data reveals that Ather Energy has sold 10,248 vehicles in August till the 20th against Ola Electric's 9,522 two-wheelers, setting it up to overtake the controversy-ridden EV maker. SEBI chairman, speaking at a FICCI event, floats the idea of trading in pre-IPO companies with certain disclosures. He adds that the regulator is looking to increase the tenure and maturity of equity derivative contracts, for which a consultation paper will be issued soon. Well, hello and welcome to Business Lunch, live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studio. I am Vamakshi Thoria. Well, it had been raining so far and it did stop, but what's not stopped raining is headlines and news flow, and we'll take you through all of that in this edition of Business Lunch. But first, let's take a look at what the markets are doing. The Nifty for now is holding comfortably about the 25,100 mark. For now, it's managed to hold on to green, up almost 0.3%. The mid-cap end of the market, though, is taking a bigger hit. Mid-cap index, in fact, has slipped into the red. Let's also take a look at what the small-cap index is doing. The small-cap index is well managing to hold in the green, though the hit is mainly coming in on the mid-cap index. The advance decline ratio largely in favor of the advances. Now, let's also take a look at some specific sectors then. What's doing well is Nifty Realty. Take a look at Anant Raj. That stock is up almost 2.2%. Godrej Properties also on the back of a news flow is up almost 1.43%. But in terms of big movers, take a look at Jupiter Wagons. They've won an order almost of around 215 odd crores, and that stock is up almost 9.4%. Certain other stocks have also managed to hit a 52-week high today. This includes India Cements, which is up almost 5%. GM Financial, which is also trading with a good gain of around 3% or so. So there's no shortage of headlines. And let's first start off with the big story of the day. SEBI chairman, speaking at a FICCI event, floats the idea of trading in pre-IPO companies with certain disclosures. He adds that the regulator is looking to increase the tenure and maturity of equity derivative contracts, for which a consultation paper will be issued soon.
With a booming IPO market, investors are eagerly anticipating what is next. Yet, pre-listing information is often not enough for investors to take an investment decision. Can we think of an initiative on a pilot basis for a regulated venue where pre-IPO companies can choose to trade subject to certain disclosures? Which are the unnecessary processes and pain points that cause avoidable friction in fundraising, disclosures, and investor onboarding, and how they can be removed? See, improving the tenure really means that, whether we can sort of have longer-term, more longer-term derivatives. But all this is to be done in consultation. As I said, that in what form, how, we'll have the consultations.
So and we will have a consultation paper
yes,
coming?
Yes. Nothing will be on,
By when will the consultation paper?
No, I can't
is
give
it
you
like in a month, in a week?
No, I can't tell you that, but that's the thinking process we have.
But your preference is for a longer...
Yes, that is qualitatively we have to see, but we have to calibrate it. So if you really look at my statement, where I said in a calibrated manner.
Well, that was the SEBI chairperson indicating that there is a need to increase the tenure of equity derivatives, after which we saw a sharp fall in the stocks of BSE as well as Angel One. Both of these counters continue to remain under pressure, down over 5%. But let's also talk about the other big story of the day. Clean Science and Technology sees a near 80% of its market cap traded in value due to a fat finger error by its banker. The stock rebounded after the company clarified this to CNBC TV18. Now, this steals the attention from the already eye-popping 24% equity sale by the promoters. My colleague Sonal joins in with all the updates on this. Sonal?
Well, Clean Science and Technology, the big mover in trade today, it has seen massive swings in the initial hour of trade as well, around 17%. So the low today was 1,070 and the high also will come up for you on the screen. So a big swing is what we saw. Now what happened? The expectation was there will be a 24% block in terms of promoter stake sale, which was expected already. However, at around 9:25, initial data suggested that 56% equity has exchanged hands for Clean Science and Technology via 3 blocks. We spoke to the management and they clarified around 9:41 that there has been a punching error by investment bankers, specifically Spark Avendus, and that has led to that big surge that we saw in terms of blocks as well. The block deals are only for 24% and not 56%. The stock recovered 13% from lows after this clarification to CNBC TV18. Now, do remember, this was something which was expected. Company did indicate in Q1 that the Boof family will be selling 24% stake to bring it down from 75 to 51%, and this will be for estate planning purposes. The promoter shareholding currently at 74.96%, and the biggest promoters in terms of shareholdings will come up for you on the screen. So these would be the possible shareholders who will be selling as well. However, do remember in the conference call and the sources that are suggesting that it is Ashok Boob and Krishna Kumar Boob who will be selling the stake in the company. Of course, block deal data is awaited today. Let's talk about financials now for this company. What did it look like? In Q1, the recent ones, it was a steady quarter. Revenues up 8%, margins at 42%, profits up 6%. However, the company went ahead and they cut their EBITDA growth guidance from 18 to 20% versus 15 to 18% earlier. They said further clarity is expected only in second quarter. They expect some growth to come by third quarter, and they expect revenue acceleration from second half of FY26 because of new product launches, improved capacity utilization, and market expansion as well. Let's dial down a bit further and talk about the previous financials. In terms of revenue growth in last 5 years, 17%, profit growth at 16%. In terms of margin growth as well, if we talk about it, it listed in FY21 when margins were really high, 15%. But now they've come down to levels of 43%. And that's what explains the move on the stock as well. It listed at 1643, but the stock is still below its IPO price. It's been 5 years since its listing. It has not been able to regain those levels. So it's not like promoters have taken back some gains with them back home. In terms of valuations as well, it is not very cheap, but it is not very expensive as well. 34 times FY27 EPS is where the stock trades at right now.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed on that, Sonal. But moving on then, Aurobindo Pharma is also gaining in trade after the company's CFO confirms interest in Prague-based Zentiva in an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV18. Let's listen in.
Given the clarification to the stock exchange yesterday, it's in the too premature stage and it's very difficult to talk about it. Having said that, we are a global company having major presence in US and Europe, and certainly this asset being placed in Europe, it does fit into our scheme of things. Today, as on date, there is no leverage at all, and we are having an overall cash of around 140, and certainly this cash is expected to go up, and any acquisition will look into the multiples, EBITDA multiples, and whether it is a EPS accretive or whether synergies are there. All these factors we'll take into account, and then we will do that. See, whenever we talk about any business or target, etc., we enter into confidentiality agreement. So I'm not supposed to talk about the numbers. I think as you said, it is very premature. Maybe it may take another 2 months' time.
Well, that was the management of Aurobindo Pharma, but putting the spotlight on insurance stocks then, they've surged on the back of a potential GST exemption on life and health insurance premium. Bihar's Deputy Chief Minister and the head of committee Samrat Chaudhary told CNBC TV18 the panel will propose to provide GST relief for both life and health insurance premiums paid by individuals. But some states had a different opinion and the council will take the final decision. Timsi Jaipuria spoke to the members of this group of ministers which met in Delhi yesterday.
इंश्योरेंस के सेक्टर में इंडिविजुअल या उनके परिवार के इंश्योरेंस को, हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस को फ्री एक तरह से जीएसटी से मुक्त किया जाए, तो उस पर चर्चा हुई है सबका और इसका रिपोर्ट लेकर अब जीएसटी काउंसिल को मैं दूंगा।
सर, हेल्थ और लाइफ दोनों पे एग्जेम्प्ट करने की बात है।
हाँ, अभी मेंबर्स ने सहमति दी है, कुछ लोगों का अपना अपना व्यू है, कुछ लोगों ने अपने राय दिया है, वो जीएसटी काउंसिल को
जीरो कर दिया गया।
हम लोग चाहते हैं कि जीरो हो, अब जीएसटी काउंसिल तय करेगी।
Well, shifting focus then, sources say the group of ministers on rate rationalization are set to meet today in New Delhi. My colleague Timsi is joining us with more details on this. Timsi, what are you picking up?
Well, yes, the group of ministers on the entire rate rationalization exercise is meeting. As we speak, the meeting is underway. A few members are moving out from the meeting. And yes, this crucial meeting is about, as what Prime Minister said, next generation GST reforms, to discuss whether these next generation reforms can actually be taken to the council in its next meeting. That is a rate rationalization from the current 4-slab structure to a 3-slab structure of 5, 18 and 40%. Currently we are at 5, 12, 18 and 28 plus cess. So the entire exercise right now is underway to see how best this proposal can be put forward to the council, what could be the revenue implications, which items will move into which bracket. As per Centre's proposal, what sources indicated to us, 99% of items under the 12% bracket could come down to 5%, whereas 90% items in the 28% slab, which includes big ticket items like cement, television, refrigerators, washing machines, etc., could come down from 28% to 18%. Mostly when it comes to 18%, that is the services category, such as your mobile bill, your Wi-Fi bill, your laptops, electronics like mobile phones could remain the same. But yes, on the 12% side, a big relief likely to come when it comes to medicines, fertilizers, agriculture equipment, tractors, sprinklers. They could come down to 5 or nil. So the entire exercise is underway. We'll have to see what could be the possible revenue implication. Whereas economists such as SBI in its latest research said that 60,000 crore of annual revenue loss could be estimated on account of this. Something that we'll have to wait and watch for, what the GOM decides and how soon the GOM can present their report to the council.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Timsi. The Lok Sabha has passed a bill that proposes a sweeping ban on online money games. IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said the bill was a necessity for larger social good by curbing addiction and debt spirals. Let's listen in.
Entire middle class families, they are losing their entire life savings in online money games. Extreme cases are there where children commit suicides. Where people commit suicide because they are not able to face the losses which happen because of online money games. That's the harmful impact which needs to be discouraged in a very significant way. Over the last 3.5 years, we have been very closely engaged with the industry. We have attempted self-regulation, but that has not really worked. There was a GST imposed, that has also not really worked. Still the harmful impacts continue. And it's something which is very significant. MPs who have met me from across the country, across the parties, they've all been asking for significant action to be taken against online money games. Honorable MLAs who meet, and the entire society in a sense has this pain which is reflected in the suicides, pain which is felt in the form of entire life's money going.
So the industry is slightly concerned. They point out that we've seen over $3.5 billion in investments, direct, indirect jobs of over 2 lakh. Is that something that weighed on the mind of the government before, at the time of drafting of this legislation? How do you account for that?
So our government has been very actively promoting digital technologies, development of new technologies. The entire DPI today is known across the world, and we'll continue to do that. What's important is that the benefits of the technology should be encouraged and the harm should be discouraged, and we have a fiduciary duty to protect the society from the harms of something which is emerging and which is clearly visible today. So that's a constitutional duty which is there on the elected government, and today the Honorable Speaker also said it, expressed from the chair, that practically across the aisle MPs have been asking for strict action on it.
Well, that was the IT Minister on the crackdown on real money games. Nasara Tech for the second day in a row is down and out in trade today. And we also have Delta Corp taking a hit in today's trading session. But let's take a short break now. We'll get you more news and updates on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC TV18. Now, the Fed's Jackson Hole Symposium will kick off later today. The pace of the Fed's rate cut is under debate. CNBC's Steve Leisman brings us the details on Fed's policy path and who will likely replace Jerome Powell.
Federal Reserve gathering for its annual meeting in Jackson Hole amid unprecedented presidential pressure for a rate cut and unsettled questions about the next Fed chair and the outlook for tariff inflation. A special edition of the CNBC Fed survey for Jackson Hole found respondents believing the president is most likely to pick NEC Director Kevin Hassett to replace Fed Chair Jay Powell, but they think he should pick former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh. About 70% of respondents think Powell's speech will be neither hawkish nor dovish, but actually neutral. The 29 respondents still see 2 rate cuts coming, even while 63% believe substantial price increases remain on the way from tariffs. On who the president will pick from among the 11 named candidates, Hassett leads, followed by Fed Governor Chris Waller, Warsh, and former St. Louis Fed President James Bullard. But respondents think the president should pick Warsh, followed closely by Waller and Bullard. Hassett drops to 4th. 41% of respondents say the next Fed chair will conduct policy independently of the president. 37% say it will be in coordination. 22% are unsure. Meanwhile, 69% say Powell's speech will be neutral, with 14% saying it will be dovish and 14% even venturing it may not be about policy or the economy at all. That would disappoint markets. Still, respondents see the Fed cutting rates by 50 basis points this year, with 25 in September and 25 in December, and 50 more next year. This is despite calls for inflation to remain around 3% this year and next. So the big question is, how does Powell make a case for a rate cut when inflation is running a percentage point above target and forecasts are that it will remain that way this year and next? Steve Leisman, CNBC Business News.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Steve. But Alphabet's Google has announced its latest lineup of Pixel smartphones and gadgets that prominently feature the Gemini Assistant as artificial intelligence. The products were launched at the annual Made by Google event held in New York. The Pixel 10 series includes several models and incorporates new AI and camera features. The baseline model is priced at $799 while the updated version of its folding phone, the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, starts at $1,799. Well, on that note, let's slip into a very short break for now. We'll get you more news and updates on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Well, thanks for staying tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC TV18. News now from India's regulators. The Central Consumer Protection Authority has imposed a 10 lakh rupee fine on ride-hailing platform Rapido for running misleading advertisements. The Rapido advertisements that have come under the regulator's radar range from promises of guaranteed autos to auto in 5 minutes or get 50 rupees. Rapido has been directed to stop the misleading ads immediately, refund the promised 50 rupees in full to affected customers and submit a compliance report within the next 15 days. Moving on to news from the war in Gaza then, the Palestinian enclave faced another round of airstrikes on Thursday, hours after the Israeli military announced the first steps of an operation to take over the city. On Wednesday, Israeli troops clashed with over 15 militants who emerged from tunnels to severely injure one soldier and lightly wounding 2 others. Israel's decision to take over Gaza is facing international criticism as it comes amid the growing humanitarian crisis in the Hamas-held enclave. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business Lunch. We're leaving you with the Nifty just holding about the 25-100 mark. Don't go anywhere. Midcap Radar takes the action forward.